Hello students, myself Dr. Sandeep. I am working as Assistant Professor at Botany Mahavidyalaya, Karzal, District Ahmednagar. I will be dealing with FYBSc Botany Semester 1, Paper 2nd. In continuation with my earlier lecture on to BO 112 Plant Morphology and Anatomy, we have seen that Paper 2nd has 2 credits, out of which first credit has morphology of reproductive parts, into which inflorescence, flowers and fruits are covered, and the second credit with 15 lectures has anatomy, types of tissues and internal organization of plant body covered. Out of the second credit that I have dealt earlier, I have already explained you in detail about anatomy. So, in this lecture, I will be dealing with types of tissues. In types of tissues, we are going to see the outline with brief description, simple and complex tissues, 4.1 meristematic tissues, 4.2 permanent tissues, 4.3 complex and vascular tissues, 4.4 epidermal tissues. Out of them, today we are going to see the outline with brief description of simple and complex tissues. Then we will also see meristematic tissues and in detail the definition for meristem, characters and types based on origin, position and plane of division and the functions of meristem. In generally talking about tissues, we know that plants are made up of cells, or in other words we also say the unit is a cell. These cells come together to form a tissue. Thus, a group of cells that are alike in origin, structure and some functions are called tissues. So, I mean to say here that a group of cells which will behave like one another and they are originating from a single type or same type of cell will be termed as tissues. Further, to categorize, for our understanding, to categorize these tissues or plant tissues, we can categorize them into 4: meristematic tissues, vascular tissues, epidermal tissues and mechanical tissues. In this lecture, I will be dealing particularly with meristematic tissues. Let us first understand what does meristematic tissues mean. Meristos in Greek means divisible, that means which can divide. Meristematic tissues is a group of cells that are continuously dividing or they can retain their power of division. So, the cells which can retain their power of division even during their later part of life, or the cells which are in continuous state of division will be termed as meristematic tissues or meristematic cells. To see structure and characteristics, the shape of meristematic tissues will be isodiametric, spherical or polygonal. There will be no intracellular spaces in between them. The cells are bound tightly to one another. They are of homogeneous type and they are made up of, the cell wall is made up of cellulose. They have dense cytoplasm, distinct nucleus and vacuoles are absent in such types of meristematic cells. Plastids are indistinct or in form of proplastids. Proplastid means the plastid which is into initial stage, the initial stage of development. They have distinct characteristic to divide, so that makes it meristematic and that makes it different from many other types of tissues and cells, because these cells and these meristematic tissues tend to divide by their own. To deal in detail, let us find out what are types of meristems. So, meristems based on origin and development can be differentiated as promeristem, primary meristem and secondary meristem. Promeristem, which is into initial stage of production of meristematic cells. Primary meristem, which originates from promeristem. Secondary meristem, which originates again from primary meristem. Then, based on position in plant body, meristems can be classified into, or the types can be understood as apical meristem, intercalary meristem, lateral meristems. And based on the plane of cell division, normally cells divide into different planes, and based on that we can say that there is mass meristem, there is plate meristem, and there is a third type, which is rib meristem. So, let us start with the types of meristems based on origin. Promeristem. Promeristem is also a primordial meristem. Primordial meristem means a meristem into its juvenile stage. Primary state of meristematic cells, and they are in small region in shoots and root tips. So, they are present in shoot tips and root tips. They are in initial stage of division or initial stage of producing a primary meristem. Next, primary meristem, they are developed from promeristem. They are active state of division. They produce primary permanent tissue. They are below promeristem because they are produced from promeristem. They are just below the promeristem in shoot and root apices, leaves and intercalary parts. Secondary meristem, they are developed from primary meristem, as I had mentioned it earlier. They are not present in the beginning because they are produced from primary meristem, and primary meristems are produced from promeristem. They are later produced into the developmental stage. They produce secondary permanent tissues. Now, we will see types of meristems based on position in plant body. Apical meristem. These are present at the apex or the apices. They bring increase in the length. So, the plant increases in the length this way or the other way because of apical meristem. It has both pro and primary meristems into it. Considering the earlier types of meristems, considering the earlier different types of meristems that we have studied, pro, primary and secondary, apical meristem would have both types, pro and primary meristems. Pro meristem produces primary meristem, as we have understood into earlier slide. Intercalary meristem, it is between permanent tissue. It is separated from apex. So, you can separate it from the apex region, and apical meristem can be separated from intercalary meristem in this way. It has definite growth, so it is short-lived. Lateral bud production is because of intercalary meristem. So, a plant can grow vertically upwards. Okay, the lengthwise growth of plant is because of apical meristem, whereas the lateral growth of plant is because of intercalary meristem. Lateral meristem. Lateral meristem or lateral side of stem and roots, they increase the diameter or thickness. So, lateral meristems are produced or are present rather on the lateral side of stem and roots. They increase the diameter or thickness of the stem or root. So, the width or the girth of stem or the root is because of this particular type of meristem activity. Vascular and cork cambiums are of this type. Vascular tissues and cork cambium are of this type. Vascular cambium and cork cambium, rather, to be precise. So here in this particular diagram, you can see that this particular part is apical meristem. These are intercalary meristems. These are intercalary meristems where they give rise to the sideway branches. They give rise to sideway branches. Okay, or even we can say that they are separated. They are separated from apical meristem. On the other side, the intercalary meristem are on the sides inside the stem and roots. So this way we can differentiate the types of meristems based on position in plant body. Further, we will see types of meristems on basis of plane of cell division, into which we have seen that there is mass meristem. This exhibits division in all planes, increase in volume. Example, pith and cortex, etc. are of this category. Plane meristem, here cells divides into two planes. Two planes are formed. Increase in area of an organ. So organ increases in size, like epidermal growth or leaf formation will be because of plate meristems. Third and the last type of this type of meristem is rib meristem. Division in only one plane. Rows of cell formed. So we will see that there are rows of cell formed into this. The example would be young roots, cortex and pith of young stem. This diagram will help us understand all the types of meristems and their positions. Here we see apical meristem. Then the leaves produced or the sideways branches produced because of the earlier type of meristem, which is shown into earlier slide. Then the protoderm, and then we also see here the different types of vascular type of assemblies, like secondary xylem, primary xylem, cambial ring, which is a meristematic tissue, cortex, which will have a meristematic region into it, right? So this is about types of meristem on basis of plane of cell division. Let us see what are the functions of meristematic tissues in general. Formation of new tissues and organs is their primary function. So, into plants, if there is a growth or there is production of new tissues or organs, it is only because of meristematic tissues or meristematic cells. Mass meristem forms endosperm, embryos, spores and sperm. So it has a main function in production of these particular tissues and organs which take active part in fertilization, that means for production of next generation. Rib meristems, these are particularly divided anticlinally to form longitudinal files to produce cortex and pith. Plate meristem, they divide anticlinally to form new cells in layers like multiserrate flat blade of leaf. And finally, cellular arrangement is determined by growth pattern of the meristem. This is the reference that I have used for describing the meristematic tissues. Thank you.